Hi folks, it's Fraser here from the Scottish Cycling Club Development Team. This is the first of a number of discussions we'll be having with clubs who've been returning to activities as we emerge from lockdown. We appreciate that for many, there are many challenges facing clubs at present, and we hope that in addition to the range of resources and support available on our Club COVID-19 Resource Hub, these conversations will help to bring to life what returning to activity looks like in a club setting. Today we're kicking off with the Royal Albert CC and particularly focusing on the youth section, the Clydesdale Colts. Joining me today is Paul Jones, who's been coaching with the Colts for a number of years. First off, Paul, how are you?
I'm well, thanks, Fraser. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. And I guess to start off with, are you able to kind of share with us what the Colts have been up to during lockdown?
Yeah, it's been pretty busy, to be honest. Lots of things going on, lots of different activities to engage as many kids as possible. The most recent thing was we cycled the equivalent of going around the world over the summer holiday break, so the 6-week holiday break, which was incredible. It was like over 18,000 miles that all the Colts riders, and it purely was the Colts, it wasn't parents and coaches and so on. So they contributed massively to some charities as well by fundraising. Lots of sessions, like virtual sessions, like roller sessions and land training sessions, and so on. We've done a few virtual dirt crits, which have been fantastic, where we've obviously not been altogether racing, but we've had Zoom running, and we've had the riders actually film themselves taking part in the race, which has been great, actually seeing everybody working together, and lots of social stuff going on as well, just to keep everybody engaged in what's happening. So yeah, it's been a busy time, but really good and really thought-provoking about what you can actually do during a lockdown.
Yeah, I mean, it has been really interesting to see a lot of the innovation that's happening. And I think certainly some clubs are considering how maybe they keep some of this going after lockdown as well. Uh,
Mhm.
Obviously, when we moved into phase 3 of the route map about a month ago now, at that time we also released the guidance which kind of allowed club activity to resume in a physical sense. Could you maybe just give us a kind of an overview of the kind of process that the Colts have gone through in planning for the return of activities?
Yeah, sure. Really just staying in regular touch with the Colts committee about what's going on, what we need to do, what we should do, and so on. And as you said, there wasn't really an awful lot going on other than the virtual stuff until phase 3 allowed the clubs to restart activity to some level. I'd say we've been taking a very cautious approach, really. We didn't want to rush in and potentially get things wrong. There were potentially too severe consequences for that to happen. So we've really taken our time, really utilising the resources that Scottish Cycling have been putting out, which has been good. The guidance has been very helpful as to what we can and can't do. Lots of regular proactive communication has been good. We then appointed our COVID officer, which in our case was our wellbeing and protection officer, which was great. He was up for doing that. Started working through risk assessment of the things that we need to do to return to activity, and we used the British Cycling risk assessment, COVID-19 risk assessment, just to make sure that we had things in place. And from there, I worked with a couple of others just to figure out what our plan for return would be. Shared that with the committee. The committee all supported it, and we put the plan into action a few weeks ago. We decided that we wanted to test a few things out, so we went along to Shatler Park where we coach, and we just wanted to check out the area first before any sessions, see what was happening, because we knew that the area was a lot busier than it used to be. So a few of us went along there and just did a bit of a risk assessment. And then we did a trial session with some coaches and some of their kids as well, just to see how that went. And that was successful. So it was only after that that we actually invited not all the Colts, but we did it in stages. We pretty much halved the groups on each session, just to minimise the numbers that we had, and to help things like social distancing, not only from the riders and the coaches and so on, but from the members of the public and other users of the park, because I say the park got a lot busier. So we've had all the groups back now. We've had all 13 groups back over the last few weeks. Yeah, and it's been great. It's been really good just to get back to some kind of normality. to be quite honest. So.
And
Yeah.
what kind of reaction have you had from riders and their families about restarting? Have they raised any concerns that you've had to address?
No, the vast majority have been really positive. A few people, particularly Celia, who's our chair, reached out to lots of people, just asking about, how people are feeling about returning to activity, and no real concern at all. We obviously gave people the option of, not returning straight away. If people did want to return, we asked them to fill in like a self-declaration to declare that they're COVID-19 symptom-free and so on. The vast majority of members have been back, as have the coaches, which has been great. There's been a real, I'd say, excitement about getting back to normal, and there was some, I guess, level of anxiety as to what would happen. But say it's proved to work out pretty well over the last few weeks, and feels like we're kind of getting back to some level of normality, as I say.
And I think, Paul, particularly for the youngest riders, aged 11 and under, because they don't need to physically distance from each other, throughout the entirety of the activity, and only before and after for 12 to 17-year-olds. I guess that makes a big difference as well in terms of how the young people are starting to interact together again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest disappointment I've heard about so far is that there's no sharing of jelly babies. But yeah, I mean, everything else has been, pretty much back to normal. We've been clear, especially with the older kids, about it's okay, being in the bubble during the activity, but as soon as the activity's done, we revert back to, social distancing and all the government guidelines and so on. But yeah, the riders have all been great, as have the parents and the coaches, really supportive and helping the club get back.
And I guess when you think about the process that you've been through over the last few months and preparing to return, is there anything in particular you'd like to share with other clubs out there?
Yeah, I think the first one I've mentioned already is, to be honest, just take your time. There's no rush to get back. Some clubs are really keen to get back, which is great. Take your time, and I would also say probably don't overthink and worry too much as well. As long as you, going through the usual kind of risk assessments and putting all the necessary actions in place, it will be okay. People are sensible and everybody wants to help. So yeah, they're the two things that probably stick in my mind, to be honest.
Thanks for that, Paul. And is it just lastly, is there any additional support you think that that clubs might need over the next period, be that from Scottish Cycling, from the local authority partners, or anywhere else?
I think continuing with getting the updates, as the government guidelines change every 3 weeks, assuming they do change as we're going through the different phases, just keep get it in black and white from Scottish Cycling, what that means for the clubs, club runs and club activities and so on. I think that's great. One other thing which I found really helpful as well is just on social media, the clubs just sharing ideas and best practices and what they've been up to. So I think just using that channel, just to keep sharing, the positive stuff that's going on, as I say, the ideas that people have got and the learnings that people have got from going back to activity as well.
Yeah, and you've actually primed really nicely on that last point there. Well, thanks, Paul, for sharing the Colts journey so far. As I kind of said at the start, we've got a number of clubs signed up over the next few weeks to join us for these discussions, so watch out for those videos coming out. And probably just to reiterate Paul's point, that we do have an online community on Facebook. It's a closed Facebook group called Scottish Cycling Club Development, and it's been a really great place during lockdown to share ideas, ask questions, and support each other as we all emerge from lockdown. So that's it from us for today, and we'll see you again soon.